Dupe. That one name says it all. Leo Dupere was a three-sports star in baseball, football, and of course, hockey. He was a tireless player whose work ethic was second to none. Longtime friend Ralph DeVito said that it is hard to summarize the career of Leo Dupere because his accomplishments are so extensive. He just excelled at any sport he played, but hockey was his favorite. Longtime friend Bob Bastine remembers the early days of skating with Leo at Clark's Pond and, for us townies, the flats off of Market Street. In a time when freshmen were not allowed to play varsity sports, Leo went on to receive 8 out of a possible 9 letters. He scored 60 goals and assisted on 38 others for 98 points in 3 years. He was the captain of the 1958 hockey team. He was named All-Scholastic in 1958 and is the all-time leading scorer in the North Shore League, highlighted by a 5-goal game against Lynn Classical. The 1958 team was the first Amesbury team to qualify for the state tournament. In baseball, he was also a captain in 1958, being named to the All-Star team. He was the team's leading hitter. Legendary coach Albie Roy was a big impact on Leo as a dedicated old-time hockey coach. After high school, Leo went on to play hockey at Northeastern University, where he was the captain his senior year, earned a total of 132 career points, and had his number retired. He was inducted into the Northeastern University Hall of Fame in 1984. He also had a 3-year stint with the Eastern Olympics team. He also played with the national team. Dupe came back to Amesbury to start a legendary coaching career. A 17-year career in Amesbury with league titles in the Twin State League in 1970 and 71, and in the Cape Ann League in 1973 and 1981. His career coaching record in Amesbury totaled 192 wins, 106 losses, and 36 ties. Former standout ice hockey player Steve Klein remembers that as a junior, he was an all-league and second-team All-Scholastic, and knowing that if he didn't work just as hard or more his senior year, he would sit on the bench. Coach never played favorites. Klein also points out how Dupere was a father figure for many. Other than my dad, nobody has a bigger influence on me than Coach. Coach Dupere's teams had 15 consecutive winning seasons, and he coached the only Amesbury team to play in the Boston Garden in 1971. In March of 1990, Coach Dupere was elected into the Massachusetts State Hockey Coaches Association Hall of Fame. In August of this year, the Amesbury School Committee voted to retire his number 13 in hockey. Tonight, he is fittingly inducted into the first AHS Hall of Fame. He has come full circle. Welcome back home. Congratulations to inductee, athlete and coach Leo Dupere, class of 1958.
Ladies and gentlemen, Leo Dupere and his presenter, Ralph DeVito.
I've waited a long time for this, believe it or not. No bones. There's been some great speakers tonight, and I've seen a lot of faces that bring back good memories. And I got a couple from the previous inductees. Larry Moran used to pay me when I was his paper boy. His dad would give him the money on a Friday at the top of Belmont Street at the White House, and they'd always be out in the driveway or backyard playing ball, and him and Neil, one or the other, would always come running up with the money on a Friday. And also, I looked up when I was researching, his dad was quite a hitter too. He hit over 400 twice at Amesbury High, and when I was researching, I saw that. And Tino Bertolini, in addition to playing some sports with him, he was my Little League coach. Him and the late Russ Murray were, when Amesbury started Little League in '52, I was 12 years old, so I got to play 1 year, and Tino and Russ were our coaches, and they did a great job. I got a lot of people to thank, and I'll probably begin with my parents. My late parents did so much, and my brothers, and they've always been supportive, and I appreciate it. My My coaches, my assistant coaches, and my friends like Fred Funya, who has been along with me for over 15 years, and his son Larry and Bill Donovan were just fantastic when it came to the coaching. My coaches in high school each had an impact on me. L.B. Roy was old-time hockey. Now, a lot of people don't know how hockey was back in the 50s. The North Shore League, which we played in, was probably the second best league in the state at that time. The Bay State League was strong, and the North Shore League was a powerhouse. And the disadvantage we had is everything was outside except for the games. We went to the Lynn Arena, played 14 games indoors. We never had an indoor practice. In our high school careers, everything outside. Exeter Academy was outside, on the pond sometime. There was a rink at the park. There was a rink in front of Old Amesbury High that LB put together. And, it's quite a feat what we did in '58, because most teams had some indoor practices, and our team went to the finals that year, and it was not easy, but I mean, it took a great team effort, and we had some great players. I see Don Roy out there, Bob Bastine, Bill Cody, and we just had some great kids that worked all the time. At that age, I skated probably 10 hours a day outside. I made myself a player. When I was in the 6th and 7th grade, kids like Donald, Norm Parent, they could keep the puck away from me. I couldn't get it. Then I was determined. I went out on my own, wherever the ice was, and skated. By 8th grade, I had blown past them. I had the speed. And it's something I made with hard work. And that's what makes tonight so important to me. I may need glasses to see what I wrote. Okay. I also have to thank, I know they're not here, but there are two members of the media that did a lot for Amesbury's athletes. And I respect the work that Jack Bowes, the late Jack Bowes, did. He was so supportive of our sports teams, and I know he did anything I asked, and he could research anything. And he had a great impact on Amesbury sports. The other was Kevin Doyle. He's no longer with the Newport News, but he was in the same caliber as, and they did a lot for us. I did write down in Amesbury High hockey, a lot of people don't realize what the Northeast Conference was back in the 50s, and this is related to what we accomplished in high school. The Northeast Conference consisted of Amesbury, Danvers, Woburn, Swampscott, Winchester, St. John's Prep, Marblehead, Peabody, Lynn English, Gloucester, Lynn Classical, Salem, Saugus, Beverly, St. Mary's. So you played each of those teams once. And then if you got to the finals like we did in '58, we lost a heartbreaker to Woburn, and we got to the finals, and we lost 2-1 game to Woburn. But that was the competition, and in that era, you really had to earn your stripes. I was fortunate enough, with the help of my teammates, to be a good scorer, and L.B. Roy told me with about 5 games to go in my senior year, he said, it's going to be awful tough now the rest of the way. He said, because whether you know it or not, they're double teaming you. They're covering you man to man because they know that if the offense is going to go, you're the one. And it was effective, but we still managed to get to the final game. And when Woburn, what they did in that last game, they beat us 2-1. They put their best player on me, their best scorer, which was a gamble by their coach, and it paid off. They beat us 2-1. And I only had 3 or 4 good shots that game. But I mean, that was the strategy that they used. And, but, the high school memories, we went to the States, Drew Malden Catholic. They were the 12th seed, we were the 24th seed. We had them 1-0 with 2 minutes to go. They tied it. and they won it in overtime 2-1. And I don't want to get about overtimes. We're snake bitten in overtimes. I don't even want to get into that topic. But our high school teams won so many big games, and it came to the state tournament, we would outplay teams and lose. No matter what happened, could be a fluke or what. We lost 5 overtime games in tournament play. And then that was unbelievable. I did want to mention how important my friend has been during this ordeal. When this first came out, and it came out in the papers, we're going to start this, my lifetime friend Ralph DeVito, behind my back, put me in, nominated me, researched a lot of stuff, and one day he showed me the letter he had sent in, and I said, geez, Ralph, he said, Leo, he said, I know what you've done. And he said, I can't believe it, you know, and I owe him a great deal. And he, along with me, was in the class of 58, from 54 to 58, there's only 3 athletes that got 8 letters because you could only get 9. No freshman could get any. And Ralph and I and Stan Andrews, who was a great football player, went on to Wisconsin. We were the only 3 in the span. Because now you've got all kinds of sports. Back then you had football in the fall, hockey or basketball in the winter, and track or baseball in the spring. So that was it. Now you've got cross country, you got golf, you got tennis, you got winter track, all kinds of things. So, and the eligibility changed. And the same thing I ran into in college. There's a freshman at Northeastern, I was on a scholarship. The same rule applied. Freshmen couldn't play varsity. And Coach Jim Bell told me, he said, this is tough. He said, you're the second best player in the program and you can't play till next year. This Art Chisholm, who was an All-American, was outstanding. And that's what I ran into. We ran into those rules. But in '67, everything changed. In high school and college, NCAA said, 4 years is okay. And if I can add 2 more stories that I told earlier today, I see Jerry Mondelto. He's waiting to hear this story. I used to have Jerry in gym classes, and we always did a 5-week in gymnastics in the winter because I was a good developer of confidence and courage, and it got away from team sports. And I told the kids, I says, I don't care how you come over, no matter what you do, I'll catch you. So Jerry used to like the vaulting buck, and I said, just wear a shirt so I can grab you. So every once in a while I'd have to rip it, to break his fall, but I always got him. Then with a week to go in the unit, I gets a letter. Jerry comes in and says, Coach, here's a note from my mother. And I says, oh. So his mother says, Coach, he says, I'm wondering how much longer you have on gymnastics because I'm running out of T-shirts. And the other story I told to a couple people today was about Ralph DeVito and Tony Tazzaneri. Ralph played, we played freshman football, and it got to be a sophomore. I was 105 pounds, and I said, I'm going to be working out for hockey all fall. Ralph said, well, he was about 125, 30. He said, I'm not that crazy about it. I think I'm going to just study. So he didn't go out. So the second day of school, Taz goes up to him in the cafeteria and says, DeVito, he says, how come I didn't see you out in the football field? He says, my father wants me to study this year. He says, oh. So that night at supper time, there's a knock at the door. And Coach, Mr. DeVito answers, and Coach Tazzanelli is there, and he says, yeah, Mr. DeVito, he says, I'm wondering why your son isn't playing football. There's plenty of time to study. He said, I want him to play. He said, I never told him not to play. So Taz says, DeVito, I'll see you tomorrow. So those are just go along with it. So anyway, I'm eating up a lot of time here, and I know Jerry, I told Jerry I'd give him one of my extra minutes. And I know. But I got a lot to be thankful for, my family, my kids, and I was fortunate, my 3 boys got to play on Well, Leo got to play on two state tournament teams. Jeff got to play on 3 state tournament teams. And Craig got to play. He was with the Newburyport coach Spike Sprague, who did a great job. He played on 4 state tournament teams. So they had good careers and have been great for me. And just great. Anyway, my final comment is this finishes out in my own heart, is that when I started sports, I said, I want to be the best. And this finishes out my cycle. I was rewarded at Northeastern in the Hall of Fame. I was rewarded by the state hockey coaches. I was rewarded for 36 years of teaching on the honor that's in the library. And tonight culminates it with where it all began in Amesbury High. And we thank you all.